works. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the March 11th, 2024 Board of Education meeting. Can we have a roll call, please?
Here.
Here. Here. Here. Here. Here.
Here. Thank you. The first item on the agenda is written communication. Dr. Davis, do we have any written communication?
We have no written communication this evening.
All right. The next item on the agenda is comments from the public. Do we have comments from the public?
We have no comments from the public this evening.
All right, so the next item is items for information. The first item is the 24-25 and 25-26 school calendars.
We have Associate Principal Robbie Brown coming to share. We'll answer any questions about the calendar.
Thank you. Yes, calendars were in our packets. Draft, I should say. Thank you.
Hello and good evening, everyone. I'm happy to been appointed to chair the district calendar committee for this school year. That was a new responsibility for me this school year, so I was happy to take that on. I'd served as kind of a second in charge, vice chair maybe, as you might say, as the committee for several years here. And I was happy to take on the responsibility as chair of the committee and help guide the committee through the process of developing the 25-26 calendar. The memo and the draft for 24-25, updated draft 24-25 and updated 25 and the created 25-26 calendar were included in your packet, and I'm here to answer any questions that you might have this evening. So thank you very much for having me tonight.
Thank you, Robbie. Board, any questions? Leah?
Hi, I have two questions. One is just really, don't use a lot of time on it, but I just wondered, I noticed that, and I thought it was interesting that there's a half day that seems to be a new thing on Indigenous Peoples Day, and I just was curious about that. But the real question I had was, the year gets earlier and earlier, and I was wondering, are we in sync or not in sync with District 65? And have we had any pushback from students and parents?
So I'll start with the first one. So
Sure.
the half day for Indigenous Peoples Day today, I'm sorry, for this, it's actually coming up for 24-25 as well as 25-26.
Yeah.
That'll be new for ETHS, and I do believe that our equity office is planning activities for students for that day. So I'm looking just for confirmation either from Dr. Campbell or Dr. Kinsey
The
here.
Equity Office and the Curriculum and Instruction Office, it'll be a district-wide effort to have some programming on Indigenous Peoples Day. for
Yep, both for students and for staff.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so, and then part two of the second question, the first part was, are we in sync? So with District 65, we do start a few days earlier than they do. The breaks are aligned for 24-25. District 65 has paused on creating a 25-26 calendar at this point, so I can't speak to the breaks for that calendar, but we are in line for the breaks of fall break, winter break, spring break at those points in time. So, and then because we finish, or we start a little bit earlier, we will then finish a little bit earlier as well. And the philosophy is that we want to, the calendar was made with the philosophy of finishing the first semester before the winter break to give both staff and students a true break in between during the break for in between the semesters, and to also keep the two semesters as balanced in the number of student attendance days as possible.
And in the past, District 65 has expressed, it's not ideal for them to be as early because a lot of their buildings don't have air conditioning and things of that nature. So it'll always be something that we keep on the table to discuss and talk about.
Are they a part of like a committee, a calendar committee?
Yeah, so Melissa Messenger, who Director of Communications at
Yeah.
District 65, is a part of our committee.
Okay, thank you.
And I want to say thank you to her. We even spoke this evening before this meeting because I wanted to find out if they had a 25-26 calendar so I could speak to the breaks. And that's when she let me know that they had paused for now and they'll pick that up again in the fall. And then in turn, I will serve for District 202 on the District 65 calendar committee.
Okay.
Hi, I want to thank you, and I enjoyed being on the committee.
Thank you.
And the way that you are taking care of things and running them. I guess one of my questions, there are two. One would be, as we, you just mentioned, Dr. Campbell, about temperature and air conditioning, and I worry about what will happen in August for us, starting so early back to school. So I'm thinking about the impact of that on our building here. And then I'm also thinking about talking about student experience, right? So we've got the competition, kind of pun intended, with looking at athletics and looking at the breaks that we're giving kids between the ending of school and starting up of summer activities. And then also winter break, as you discussed, that some of the theory behind this or the impetus or fuel is to create 2 semesters that are balanced. And I just would love to think about how we're going to follow up, because it's something I think a lot of schools are trying to do, but I don't know if necessarily it accomplishes what we're hoping. And it might need a little bit more. So I'm just curious what we'll do to study that new shift in creating those 2 semesters with a break to see if it really has the positive impact that we're hoping it does.
Thank you.
So I thought this was early as well until I looked at last year. I mean, it's pretty consistent. It hasn't changed. So, right away I was like, ooh, this is early. And then I went to look at the previous calendar and I was like, oh, it's the same. It's similar. So August is always, I think, challenging because for a lot of families or some families, it's that get ready for school, and now July becomes get ready for school. But it's been pretty consistent, so I would hope that families that have been here are prepared for this. So.
And we also know that for many faculty members, they are around because they're getting ready to. They don't really start August 8th. They start earlier because they have to get ready. So we know that. And not all, but some other high school districts in the area are starting at this time. Some even earlier.
I was going to note the same thing, that the CSL communication has
Yeah.
been the transition now. Within 2 years, it will be all of the CSL
Yeah.
following the same schedule. And I think it's important that we look at, is this, meeting the need that we're intending to meet? So, thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? All right. Well, thank you again for coming, and thank you for your work on the calendar.
And thank you, everyone, for having me. Have a good evening.
You too. Okay, our next item is the report on student activities, the activities, athletics, fine arts, and communication services. And I think we got them all here.
So we have, who's this? Chris Levatino. That guy? Chris Levatino, athletic director. Denise Clark, our student activities director. Nick Gale, director of arts and innovation, and Aaron Clays is our community service coordinator.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us here tonight. My name is Denise Clark, and I am here with my colleagues, and we're excited to tell you guys about ETHS Student Involvement Report that we have for last year. So my colleagues are going to introduce themselves. Denise Clark, Director of Student Activities in the Success Center.
Hi, good evening, Chris Levatino, Athletic Director.
Good evening, Nick Gale, Director of Arts and Innovation.
Hi, I'm Erin Clays. I'm the Community Service Coordinator.
So first things first, we're going to dive right here. Last year, our homecoming theme was glow in the dark. And we have a student right here who created her own dress. Can we click on that? I'll go click on it. Oh, sure.
There you go.
As we get ready, watch a little clip. Around! Right there's just a quick glimpse of the excitement that our students get when they receive ownership over something that we're doing here at ETHS, right? Our student body designed their own gear and came fresh to death with their glow-in-the-dark theme gear all through the night. This past year has been nothing short of amazing. With significant increases in opportunities, there it is. There you go. We have figured it out. This past year, like I said, has been nothing short of amazing. With a significant increase in opportunities, we have to see that has led to more diverse and engaged student body. I'm thrilled to share the efforts in expanding our diversifying our activities has resulted in noticeable increase in students of colors becoming more active in activities across the board, from student activities, athletics, fine arts, and community service. This inclusivity has enriched our school community as a whole, and as you guys see tonight through our presentation, we're going to show you evidence to how these numbers have increased across the board and what we are doing to make sure that we continue to increase opportunities for all of our students here at ETHS. Throughout the slides, you're going to see pictures from different events that we've hosted last year through fine arts, student activities, community service, and athletics. This extracurricular philosophy is just something that guides us through our planning and how we execute. And one of the big things that we want to point out this year is opportunities, right? With opportunities becomes leadership, discipline, structure, responsibility, teamwork, and self-confidence that we have all strived this past year and as we're doing now to continue to give it and embody for our students here at ETHS. Now we're going to head over to our highlights. Student activities highlights for last year. Our DECA team had over 28 students to compete in State Illinois Career Development Conference. Our DECA students placed first, second, and third in over 14 categories. I am proud of our esports team that placed 8th in our state out of more than 100 teams. Our Science Olympiad team went 5th place last year. This is the first time that we've been to state in over 10 years. We've launched school-wide initiatives for students to gain experience outside the classroom, Six Flags, bowling, freshman and sophomore dances. We brought that back last year. ETHS school community and members of the Evanston Hospital helped us to raise $12,000 last year in prom scholarships. And we also hosted our first ever Dungeons and Dragons mega session.
Nice. In athletics, one of the things that we really try to emphasize throughout the year was Title IX, the 50th anniversary of Title IX. So at 14 different girls' sports contests, we had Title IX tribute, where we welcome back our alumni from those particular sports, paid tribute to them before the contest. And then we had a big celebration at our E-Town Showdown at Northwestern's Welsh Ryan Arena, where we brought back 50 alumni, 50 current student athletes, and 50 future kits to create a Title IX numerical configuration on the floor, which I think you'll see a picture of later in the presentation. It's a really neat way to kind of bring the past, the current, and the future kits together. Other highlights last year, we celebrated 3 state champions, all in track and field, Dawson, Abrielle, and Miles. It was quite a couple of weekends for our kits downstate in Charleston. And then some of the sports that really stood out last year, girls soccer and boys gymnastics won back-to-back conference championships. And baseball set a school record for most wins last year. And 12 of our sports ended up in the top 25 at the end of their season. So.
Yeah, speaking about community service, so this is my first year as the coordinator, so if I haven't met you yet, hi. But I've been an intern in the office for the past 2 years, so I can speak to the excellence of School Links, which is our new platform for recording service hours. And I think that was one of the reasons why we've seen such a large jump from 1,889 students logging hours to 2,410. That's over half of the school population. Kids are able to submit service hours in a way that's easy and accessible for them without having to deal with paper forms, which always get lost, and it's easier in the office too. We also, our community service club continues to be one of the biggest clubs here at ETHS. We welcome about 200 students per month at our monthly meetings, and students plan different service events that in total we had over 1,000 spots for students to volunteer in school, and that's student-led service based around things that our students are passionate about. One of the things that students and myself were really passionate about was increasing and really making consistent our food distribution efforts here in school. So we went from 4 to 8 distributions and established a strong partnership with the C&W Foundation, allowing us to distribute over 75 bags of food monthly. And then we always talk to our students about fundraising and advocacy and different ways of doing service. And so with student help, we raised over $6,000 for local food organizations and the Student Emergency Fund through Empty Bowl, our annual soup fundraiser, and through the thrift shop.
Okay, and then in the fine arts programming, we welcomed over 6,000 audience members to our ticketed events in dance, theater, and music. As well as our wind ensemble performed at the University of Illinois as the honor band, and that's an incredible achievement for them. One of our favorite things to do, and I'm going to touch on this a little bit later as well, is bring in artists from the professional performing world into the school to work with our students. And so last year we were able to work with Eric Menthal and composer Rena Ismail. And they've commissioned a piece to actually, we've commissioned them to actually write a piece for our band to play. So that's always an exciting opportunity for students when they can be a part of that experience in addition to the actual performing experience. Our art students received a combined value of over $2 million in college scholarship offers, and much of that is attributed to this program we participate in called Arts Connected, which is really a visual arts experience for most of the suburban and city art programs. So students can submit their work, it goes on display, and then through that process they get connected with colleges and programs. So it's an excellent kind of vehicle to support visual arts students. And as a result, we also had just about 40 students participate in our annual senior showcase exhibit, which is truly a one-of-a-kind experience for art students where each of them gets to have a display case of their own and kind of decorate it with their own art and any other imagery. We bring a couple thousand students through it to vote, and the students can earn additional scholarships and awards through that. So going through to get us started, one of the things we wanted to start off with was student well-being. And I think I speak for all of us when I say that we truly believe that when students are engaged in activities and community service here at the school, that improves their well-being, not just academically, but socially as well. And we are proud to announce that 91% of the students at ETHS last year were engaged in an activity, sport, performing group, summit, school dance, or in community service. I know we've presented to you all for the past several years, and that number has been steadily climbing, particularly since COVID. And I know one of the goals from this group was always like, how do we get to 100? And it's exciting to see that we've broken through. We were at 85% the last time we spoke with you, and now to be going up to 91% is a huge accomplishment. We're going to talk a little bit about how that happened or why we believe that happened, but I think it's important to acknowledge that much of this jump was attributed to student activities as well as community service. So I think part of what we've done is kind of reframe what does student engagement look like? And what are the opportunities like summits that can also demonstrate that, in addition to maybe some of the more traditional ways we thought of it, like being involved in a sport or performing arts group. So really a testament to all of my colleagues up here, as well as all the students and staff and sponsors and coaches and directors who all play a part in this. It's exciting to see a 9 in front of that number, and we look forward to the future.
I was gonna
Oh. So if we take our 91% and we break it down by our federal race code, we can see growth predominantly in our areas of students of color. So for example, our Black and African American went from 79% up to 86, as well as our Hispanic Latino went from 77 to 85. And those were the two biggest jumps of those subgroups.
Oh, nice.
The Title
I
IX Chris
love it.
mentioned.
Very cool.
So from here, we're going to break down the data a little further. So what you're seeing here now is strictly related to athletics, fine arts, and student activities. And again, all of our numbers have increased, which is great. Again, the biggest increases were areas within our students of color. So our Black and African American students went from 51% to 65, and our Hispanic Latino numbers went from 47 to 59. Similarly, we always like to report on kind of the grad year status. Again, every group here increased. I know the last time we spoke, our low-income and IEP students was an area of focus, and we're happy to report that those have increased as well. Our low-income students went from 50 to 58%. Our students with an IEP went from 31 to 44, so continuing to create more opportunities there. And new this year, we're starting to look at the data around our multilingual learner population as well. So we're excited to see how those opportunities can also start to be reflected in here as well, and what future programming opportunities can come from partnership with that department too. And then lastly, we continue to have a few more female identifying students involved than our males. However, both of these went up. Our female identifying students from 71 to 78, and our males from 62 to 70. I hope you're starting to notice a trend here about all of our increases.
So obviously, we're here for school first, extracurricular activities second. But one of the things that I believe very strongly is that kids that are involved in extracurricular activities do better in school. They're better connected to their fellow students. They're better connected to the school. They enjoy coming to school. And we check their grades every week when they're involved in their activity or sport. And teachers or coaches and sponsors have those direct conversations with kids and encourage them to do better. We have study table to make sure that they get the supports they need, and they're required to go to those supports if they start to slip in any of their classes. And if they really slip, they lose their eligibility. So those requirements are in effect, and I think between the requirements and then the care that our sponsors and coaches show to them, you see numbers like this. And I think the numbers really speak quite loudly for themselves. Students that are involved in extracurricular activities have a full letter grade higher GPA than students that are not. And if you look at every subgroup, it's a significant difference between kids that are involved in extracurriculars and those that are not. Every year I feel like this picture of academic excellence for kids involved continues to get brighter and brighter for us. And I'm just really proud, as Nick said earlier, of the role that our coaches and sponsors play in encouraging kids to put school first.
All right, community service makes sense to be talking about community engagement and partnerships. So starting here, looking at the number of hours that students record, I think when I talk about service with students, we talk about not just doing it to meet that honor society mark, which tis the season right now, but really thinking about what are you interested in, what are you passionate about, hopefully allowing them to get set up with a service activity that's exciting and engaging for them. And I think that's shown here with over way more students doing 15 hours than less than that. And that shows that students are creating relationships with the people they're doing service with, or at least finding ways of doing service that wants them that has them coming back for more. Yeah. So Nick went over some of the numbers for student activities and athletics and fine arts. This is looking at the racial breakdowns for community service, and we've seen increases across all subgroups. Obviously, there's still disparities. Some of the biggest jumps that we've seen were in our Black and Latinx population. Our Black student participation went up from 32% to 47%, and for Latinx students, it went from 34% and 55%. So we're really happy to see those numbers increase, and I think a lot of that has to do, honestly, with the accessibility of School Links, because it's easy for me to sit down with a student and teach them how to do that, and a lot of times, things that they were already doing with their church or with neighbors or as part of their community already, they realize that counts as service. And so really getting students to see that the ways that they're already engaged in their community can be recognized by the school, and we want to uplift that through School Links and through the community service department. Similarly with grad year, we've seen some nice jumps across the board in 2023. For the class of 2023, we've seen a rise of from 47% to 64%. And then for the class of 2025, from 51% to 72%. Starting off freshman class at 66% participation, I think, speaks to the efficacy of Prep to ETHS. We do service with every single student who participates in Prep to ETHS. We make sandwiches with them, and it's really awesome to be meeting freshmen and they recognize me right away because they're like, "Oh, I made sandwiches with you," and I'm like, "Yeah," and you already have 30 minutes already in School Links that shows you it's actually easy. I'm who you talk to. It's way more fun than a presentation, and also Connections for the Homeless. No offense, we can make sandwiches next time. Connections for the Homeless has a real need for sandwiches on a daily basis. So it's everything that we want with service. It's meaningful, it's hands-on, it's accessible, and it really gets students introduced to the ethos of our office. So looking forward to seeing those numbers continue to rise. We do still see a pretty big disparity between male and female students. I've done a lot of thinking about why this is. I think that service is often thought of as a more feminine activity for all of the reasons why activities are thought of as more feminine. But we did see a rise in male participation from 43% to 59%. So there is still a nice rise, and we're looking to hopefully think about those reasons more and get more men involved. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a couple other ways that we're engaging the community through our office. We host a volunteer fair every year. Last year we had 47 organizations participate in that. Civics fair, we have even more. And then some smaller fairs that really help students find specialized service, such as the education fair, where we highlighted tutoring opportunities, really putting an emphasis on literacy. We see that students, when they're able to read books to younger students, they gain that confidence in their own literacy skills. And then an eco fair with different environmentally minded organizations. And then looping back to my conversation about making sandwiches, we have a really strong partnership with Connections for the Homeless. We make over 1,000 bagged sandwiches per year for them. I think that's even a low estimate. And we also have worked with many different organizations like Family Focus, Evanston Grows, Bundled Blessings on a consistent basis, and really putting emphasis on those ongoing partnerships like with the CW Foundation. We're really grateful Valley Produce helps support our food distributions every month by allowing us to table outside, as well as with Family Focus and the Moran Center. So making sure that we're building those relationships, and I know everybody who works there, they know me. When I pull up to Connections, they're like, "All right, let's get the cart. You have 200 sandwiches in there probably." And it's really nice to be able to create those relationships and know that when I'm sending my students to volunteer there, that they're in really good hands.
Thanks, Erin. We also collaborated with community partners and leaders. One of the things that I'm very proud of was last year we launched Women's History Month Community and Connection Series, and our first speaker was our Chief of Police, Ms. Chief Stewart, who came in and spent a whole afternoon with us and our students, and classes were able to come in and hear her story. And she's also an alum from here, right? So it's just great for them to see themselves in different elements and different lanes of careers here. When they graduate from ETHS. We also work very closely with Dreams Delivered, who we're very grateful for, the Evanston's Women's Club, and Evanston's Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. worked with us very closely with our seniors to get dresses for prom. We've also provided opportunities with scholarships for the youth at Family Focus to see Hipley ballerinas last year, which was fantastic. They wrote us a card and letter back from all the students from Family Focus with Miss Joanne saying thank you and how grateful they were for the opportunity to see the ballerinas and Black ballerinas who one of them want to aspire to be one day. So it was great for them to see that. And the exposure piece, we are also in our third year with our District 65 Black History Month Literacy Week. We take students from all walks who are athletes, who love to just read and literacy, who come over to 4 or 5 different 65 schools, and they read during Black History Month, and they read books of encouragement about we're loving who you are and reflecting on being different, and it's okay, but loving your Blackness is always a great thing, right? Starting younger and really highlighting literacy. We also got those donations last year, hitting $12,000, and so I put the link in for this year. So you all can all go on there afterwards and go ahead and help us raise more than that for this year for our prom donations. And we connected ETHS students to play sports. Chris, you want to keep going with that?
Sure. We just continued our strong partnership with Girls Play Sports and our new partnership with Coomba Evanston to try to really focus on getting as many girls involved in sports before they come to the high school, and same thing with students of color. And those have been just phenomenal partnerships to have. So obviously one of our 4 goals is to try to be as fiscally responsible as we can. And what we kind of observed is one of the big ways we do that is by trying to bring in as much revenue as we can. The boosters do a tremendous job working with us, and all 4 of us have great relationships with them. Each and every year it feels like we're getting over $100,000 to help buy equipment that takes us from good to great. And you know, without their support, we wouldn't be able to have some of the really special things that help each one of our programs. Between sponsorship sales, ticket sales, and our SNAP fundraiser that we do with all the different sports teams, we bring in over $225,000 of revenue to ETHS from the athletic department. That helps to offset a lot of the other equipment expenses that we would be bugging Kendra for, which really helps a lot. And some of it goes to the general fund as well, and some of it goes to help support kids that would otherwise not be able to pay for the cost of coming to summer sports camps. And then finally, on my side of this, between clubs and activities and sports, we do, I think, a pretty good job of reaching out to nutrition services and taking advantage of the after-school meals that they're able to provide our students and our respective programs, I think, which makes a difference in terms of giving them some fuel before the next 2.5 hours of work.
In addition to the boosters, one of our strong partnerships has been with the ETHS Foundation, and they've been helpful in securing some donors for our music program in particular to help support a private lessons fund that we can then award back to the students each semester. Private lessons for music tend to be one of the major barriers for our students, and but also the trajectory for when you get them is an incredible difference. And so, you know, we're continuously working toward building a sustainable model where any kid who wants private lessons is able to get them here at the high school by one of our instructors. So it's been a great partnership, and we're excited about the future with them. In addition, we continue to operate in theater with all of our ticket sales. The support from the community has been tremendous with our theater shows, and then we can then use that ticket money and turn it around to support all of our sets, costumes, rights to the productions, and some equipment as well. So that's been a great structure for us. And then lastly, we continue to offer what we look for are highly effective but low maintenance fundraisers for our students who are going on some trips and tours. You know, we don't want to find anything that is overburdensome for them, but want to make sure that we're creating opportunities for them to also contribute back to some of their trips as well.
Yeah, so speaking about post-high school planning, I mean, there's so many different studies showing the way that community service can really set students up for success. I think there's many skills that you learn in the classroom and many skills that you learn outside of the classroom. Every month we take students to Valley Produce, like I mentioned, and they solicit donations from folks who are heading into shop and just ask like, hey, pick up an extra bag of potatoes, an extra thing of apples. And the growth I've seen in students over like a 45-minute service activity of them having to like talk to somebody about what they're passionate about is enormous. So the CCRI recommendation from the Illinois State Board of Education is that students do 25 hours over the course of their high school career. And we know that about 37% of our students have logged over 15 hours. We're hoping to see that number grow. But community service helps to build those skills. It also helps connect students to scholarships and connect students to different career paths. You know, we talk about it as a low stakes way of trying out different jobs. So if you are working in the thrift shop, you're getting a chance to try retail. You're making sandwiches. You're getting a chance to think about, like, what does it mean to be making food? A lot of students who are interested in environment get connected to jobs and internships through Evanston Grows. So these are just some of the ways in which students are thinking about post-high school planning through a lens of service. Yeah.
So student activities, we have a great YTC program, and this past year we partnershipped with them, and they helped with Camp Kumba, and they're fostering career path for students of color, male and female identifying students in technology and robotics. This past year, we'll talk more about it, they were able to give computers to the Evanston community and laptops, which was great this past year. We're also exposing students of color to the field of education and writing through our literacy program with 65, as we partner with them for the last 3 years through our Black History Month programming. And then our series of pop-up shops for young entrepreneurs. We're recognizing that all our students are not gonna go off to college, but we're giving them a platform and a space to show off their skills through our entrepreneur pop-up shop opportunities here at ETHS. And we host 3 of them throughout the school year.
So one of our goals in fine arts in this area is always to think about what would a professional in this field do, and then how can we mirror that experience for our students within budget. So as I mentioned, you know, one of the favorite things we like to do is connect students with professionals who are in the field, whether that's bringing people into the building. I will say the COVID has showed us all how the power of Zoom can just bring somebody right into the classroom. So this year we recently hosted kind of a panel for those in the video production field. We go to visit professional arts venues like Broadway in Chicago, Writers Theater, the Goodman Theater. Again, the opportunity to see shows, but also to engage and interact with some of the professionals there. Just 2 weeks ago, our band was at the Symphony Center downtown, and they got to experience union stagehands, which meant that our students couldn't touch a chair or a stand, which was a whole different experience for them. So in addition, we try to attend clinics and events at colleges like NIU, Northwestern, University of Illinois. While we're there for a high school purpose, you know, one of the other goals is for them to experience what it's like to be on a college campus, to be in a music program and music facilities within that space. And then some of this even extends outside of the regional area. We try to travel to the Stratford Theater Festival as well as our biennial music tours. So students aren't just seeing what's here within drivable distance, but are also actually going outside of Illinois, sometimes out of the country, to experience that as well.
As for athletics, we just kind of continue doing the same things that we've been doing to highlight and accentuate the students that are going on to play their sports in college by celebrating them at 4 different signing days throughout the year. Last year, we had 46 seniors make the commitment to play college sports, and that's at across any level. So NAIA, Division III, Division II, Division I, JUCO, you name it. And then every year we host a college recruiting seminar for student athletes and parents that want to learn about the college recruiting process. We actually just hosted the one for this year just 2 days ago, which was pretty well attended. And at the end of the year, I think this is a really neat tradition that we started a while back. We host a college-bound student-athlete breakfast, which basically we invite 3 or 4 alumni that are either currently in college playing sports or recently graduated, and they just talk straight to our kids about what that experience is like, and they answer their questions, and they give the kind of the down and dirty of what it means to be a college student-athlete. And we've found that helps prepare kids for that path ahead, which can be difficult at times. So, in looking at all of the great news that we shared with you guys this past 10, 15 minutes and throughout last year, we also recognize that there's some opportunities for us to keep getting better at. And We're going to just tackle some of the different areas of opportunity that we're either currently engaged in or looking forward to starting next year. So for the athletic department, one of the big partnerships that we're engaged with for this summer is Coomba Evanston, and we're going to be hosting an Olympic Games that's going to span 3 weeks and introduce 3rd through 5th graders to 17 different sports. And they're going to be Olympians, and they're going to get a chance to play all these different fun sports and have medal ceremonies and opening and closing ceremonies. It's going to be a really cool community event. And obviously the goal from my end and my perspective is we're trying to get more of our students of color engaged in those sports at an earlier point so that they can make connections with the youth sports programs that really control their abilities to play those sports early on. And what we've learned and we've talked about ad nauseum with this group over the years is why don't we have more kids of color playing sports in high school? Because they haven't been connected to those programs early enough. And I really am hopeful that this is going to be that event that helps kind of tear down those barriers for our kids going forward. This year, we already started a pilot program called Wild Kids Will Workshops, which basically is a lunch and learn opportunity for student athletes to learn more about leadership, to learn about mental toughness, to learn about daily habits, team cohesion, and things like that. It's just a seminar during lunch period where we talk to them about how they can get stronger and better at those areas. This past fall, we conducted 9 focus groups with parents, student athletes, and coaches, specifically centered around how we can build up the social and emotional learning that takes place through sports. And one of the great outcomes of that is that we've created a student athlete experience survey that our student athletes will take at the varsity level towards the end of their seasons, and we'll give our coaches feedback both on areas of opportunity for them to grow at and things that we're already doing really well that we can build up as best practices for other programs that might be struggling in those areas. So those are some of the things that we're excited about in the athletic side.
Yeah, looking forward to next year and this year. I went back in time. Now we're in the present day. Something that we've been working on this year is collaborating with the dean's office to think about how to extend our restorative practices into service. So we're excited to be rolling out an alternative and reduction to suspension program in 2024. We're almost there. What that's going to look like is working with a few key specific community partners that we have great relationships with and allowing our students to do service that interests them as a way of hopefully building community, restoring those relationships, and also connecting students to potential job opportunities or just people in the community who can be advocates for them, who can write a recommendation letter for a job or for a college application. So that's one thing really excited about. Also this year, a big focus of mine has just been increasing accessibility of service through more in-school service activities, so getting that number closer to 2,000 different spots available for students here. Also working with different classes. We've collaborated with, I think, 3 different SPED classes this year, which has been really exciting. And also doing some small incentive programs. I've been doing a bingo every month with students, seeing what kind of service they can get done. So yeah, just trying to make service something that feels easy, accessible, and exciting.
Something I'm extremely excited about is we have established a streamlined communication with our special ed department for inclusivity year-round with year-round activities. So this year we have decided to go ahead and create our student activities calendars by every 6 months so that everyone is aware of what's going on in our building. And part of that was for us to make sure that all students see what's happening and have access to everything. So that has been a true success and a game changer for us to reach all of our students, especially the students in our special education department. We are planning on creating more school-wide incentives for building community outside the classroom. You know, you can only be so much in the classroom, right? Well, outside the classroom, students feel like they can really explore and be themselves. And so we're trying to make sure that we build community with students going to Six Flags, going to bowling, getting ready to go to HBCU events. This year was our first time working with Avid students. They got to go to an HBCU event this year. That was amazing, exposing them to our historically black colleges and giving them a platform to do that outside the classroom at a baseball game.
And then in the area of fine arts, one of the things we're starting right now is to be a little bit more deliberate in our partnership with special ed as well as our emerging multilingual departments to really enhance the student experience. I think we're trying to shift from a space that welcomes them to a space that's designed for them. And so it's been exciting to work with those leaders thus far, and we're excited for the potential not only in the classroom but outside of the classroom as well. And as you know, we've merged our fine arts and CTE departments into an arts and innovation department. And so we've spent a lot of time this year kind of building a strong climate and culture amongst the staff. And so it'll be exciting to see what programming and opportunities come out of that partnership and collaboration as well.
As you all can see, we have strived very collectively to put out the best that we can do for our students here at ETHS, and we're excited to explore new opportunities and things that we can provide for our students in the upcoming years, and we just want to say thank you for you guys for having us here tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Excellent, excellent report. Very exciting, so many exciting things happening, and really excited to see those numbers improve for students of color, our Black and Latinx students. So that's really, really good, and appreciating when you see the disparities, naming that and trying to get those numbers up. Erin, I really liked how, I think we talked last year, or maybe, I don't know, maybe it was 2 years ago, who knows, about making sure that our students understood that some of the service they do outside of school in their churches can count, and giving them a way to make sure that that is counting, because we know that many of our students are involved outside of school, and that is community service. So thank you for that. So board, any questions from anybody? Pat?
Well, thank you. That was a great report, and it's very exciting to see those numbers going up, because I know every year we talk about it's a struggle, and how are we going to do it? So I guess my question is, not to take away from how great that is, but why? Why did that happen? Do we know what happened? Obviously, coming back from COVID, we're moving forward, but are there any specifics? And are there any, I guess what I'm particularly interested in is what can we learn either from kids who've been involved in sports and activities and service and arts, why they're there? Like, how can we use what we already know, even though maybe we don't know it yet, but it's in our midst. And then these new students that are coming to you all, who are they? And I'm talking specifically about kids of color. Why are they coming to you now? What is it? Was there a teacher that kind of encouraged them? Was it you making sandwiches with them in the summer? What was it? And how can we learn from that to build upon it?
The first piece of that is asking them, right? We really have put our foot out there to ask them, what do they want to see? What do you guys want to do? What makes you happy, right? And when you ask the students what drives them, that has driven our numbers to really increase. Providing them new opportunities, exposure is part of that, right? If they don't know we're doing something, they can't get involved, right? So a calendar now. Sending them emails, asking them to fill out surveys. We have really changed the trajectory of how we're reaching them, which has really made our numbers increase.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
Yeah.
I think within athletics, we just keep adding programs, and we're just creating more and more opportunities for kids to get involved in different sports. Mm-hmm. We offer more sports than any other high school in the state of Illinois for kids to be involved in, and I think that's how our numbers have grown more than anything else. And in terms of asking, that was really the central point of running the focus groups this past fall, was we wanted to know what are the desired outcomes that kids have, that parents have, and that coaches have. And, there's a laundry list of reasons why kids love playing sports, and they're not really associated with winning like most people would expect. They're focused on building friendships, learning new skills, growing, and I think we just have to continue to try to demonstrate that that's what you get when you play sports, those opportunities, and not just focus on championships and trophies.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, I think that's great, the doing in more formal ways, like focus groups, or informal ways, I think you were kind of touching on. Yeah, the more I think we ask, the better we know, and then we can, it sounds like you all are willing and able to pivot quickly to do whatever. So, yeah, now just knowing what they want is a real big thing. So, thank you. This is great.
Leah?
Okay, well, first of all, I put down a few questions that I might ask, and you pretty much answered all of them, so I wanted to say thank you for your comprehensiveness of the report. But I do have one remaining question, and that is, so first, I think it's fantastic that we're using School Links for the community service hours, and it's not a surprise that it's easier and more are recording it. One of the things I just was curious about was, I mean, with my experience with students, you know, there's so many things they can be involved in, and then they get to be a senior and they're applying for jobs and scholarships and college, and they don't remember what they did, and they don't give themselves enough credit for everything they've been involved in. Is School Link something that we can, or you are already encouraging them to record all of the things that they're involved in? Well, everybody. I was looking at
Yeah,
you
no.
just 'cause- Yeah.
I mean, so that's something we talk about with students is like, it's good for you to be recording your service hours so that when you are sitting down to apply for a job, you have that. It also is like an official transcript that you can like staple onto your resume if you need or whatever. I know there are ways of utilizing School Links to track also activity involvement. I'm not sure if any of you can speak to the ways in which, yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna offer, I know there's activities within our FASH programming as well that's teaching students the tool, and then some guided experiences where they get to enter that stuff. I think it's fair to say that as they go through their high school, the 4 years, there's probably fewer and fewer of those formal opportunities to do that. And perhaps it's because the assumption is that they've now learned the program and can return to it. But then that has also been brought into some curricular experiences as well, like if they have to create a resume or something of that nature.
And hats off to our counselors here, because they do a lot of post and planning throughout the year as their freshmen and juniors and seniors through their high school career. But also we provide opportunities, like during Black History Month, we did a vision board event last year where we gave students a mock of what have you been doing all 4 years of high school, please fill it in to inspire your vision. So we are giving them opportunities to do it in just different ways and formats. So all of us collectively through the school body and all are providing opportunities for students to kind of write down and put their stuff in tracking areas.
Excellent. Yeah.
Well, Liz, I
Well,
mean,
Liz.
oops.
Liz and then Mira.
Yeah, I think you answered all my questions, but I just wanted to say that I do look forward to this report every year. It gives us a really nice glimpse into the social and emotional health of our students, and it's a really important aspect of their overall, success here. And overall, the numbers look great, and I love seeing the progress. So I just wanted to commend you all on the efforts that you're making for like the emergent multilingual students and the special ed students, and getting them more engaged and getting their numbers up as well.
Thank you for noticing.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of all of your work, and so thank you. And then it's nothing too powerful or interesting probably, but the Kumba Olympics, who's working there?
It's a completely volunteer effort. Is that your question?
Yeah, so I'm thinking about the kids.
Yeah,
And the
no,
service
so-
work that they could do.
Absolutely. So we've reached out to the student athletes initially that were identified by their coaches as their top leaders, to get them to sign up and volunteer first. And then as we discover how many more opportunities there still are, we're gonna keep unfolding those volunteer opportunities after that. But ideally, it's going to be driven by leaders in our community and students here at ETHS that are gonna do most of the work. And we have a good collaboration with Northwestern as well. Their True NU program is gonna provide, some of their student athletes are gonna come over and help do some of the sports carnivals that we're hosting, and whatnot. So it's a big affair. It's a big
Okay.
affair. Yeah.
Well, and that, I didn't want to play into the stereotype, as you were kind of saying, what do we do with some of this male, female kind of script of who does service or how, but it might help to deal with some of those parts that we're kind of identifying.
Yeah, although I will say we want to be cautious about that too, because we don't want to just have a bunch of boys volunteering to run
Exactly.
the sports and then make girls feel like they don't belong. So we're trying to be as balanced with the volunteerism as we can when it comes to that. But yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, we do collaborate pretty closely. A lot of students get service hours for various things around the athletics department, from timing swim meets or helping out at a wrestling match, or helping with these more, maybe traditional service activities like helping out with Kumba. Yeah.
And I love that, what you're saying too, to challenge that back, like, let's not fall into the stereotypes.
Yeah.
Clearly, service is, for everybody, so.
Great.
Yeah, and I will say that I know the athletic department does that well across sports. That not only just by advocating for service, I know you all did it for Race Against Hate and just anything that was happening in the community, but also showing sportsmanship, so supporting our girls' sports. If they're done with practice, showing up and just being there as a community. So that's always, my experience has been, that's always been there. I do really like the Olympic idea too. I think the earlier on the better, but then I think I heard you say that you're working with community sport organizations as well. Are you planning to do that?
Yeah, so the governing bodies for every different sport are going to be the youth sports organizations and/or our head coaches if there's not a youth sports organization. So we have two wonderful youth soccer organizations in Evanston
Yeah.
that sometimes are
Clash.
kind of on the opposite spectrum
Yeah.
of doing things.
Yeah.
And they have both agreed to participate in partnership in the Kumba Evanston Olympic Games, which to me is one of the greatest accomplishments I've ever. It's like, I won't use that reference,
Maybe they
but
can teach
yes,
the
it was
adults of
great
your
to bring
things.
those two entities together. And so, we have EBSA overseeing the Evanston, the baseball/softball sporting event. We have WSO doing
Yeah.
swimming, all the youth, because that was the problem.
Right.
Is we would do things just in isolation as a high school to create a one-off clinic. And the kids would do it, and then they wouldn't really have any follow-up.
Right.
And then they get here and they're like, oh, I could do this sport. And then they get crushed because they've had 3-4 years of inactivity after they got introduced to the sport that they like, and they can't keep up with the Joneses who have been having a personal trainer and private instructions and everything else. And
Right.
so if we can connect these kids and families directly to these youth sports organizations, then I think we have a fighting chance to keep those kids involved. And those youth sports organizations have always told me, we would love to get more kids involved, especially kids of color. We just don't know how to find them.
Well, yeah, that's interesting. So,
It is
of course,
interesting,
right
but-
away, I was thinking about EBSA. And what I'm hoping is that they will learn from what you're doing as well. So I'm hoping it goes both ways, that not only will their engagement here help us, but then they will take hold of that experience of working with the 3rd through 5th graders and really try to cultivate and maintain those relationships. Because every year, EBSA is talking about that. We just don't know what to do. We don't know what to do, and we can't find, athletes, young athletes of color to play T-ball. Really? But anyway, so.
Yeah, I mean,
so
I will
you
say,
have it.
in my conversations with them, they've been super excited
That's
about
good.
what we're
And
doing.
and they should be.
They're not doing it begrudgingly. They really see this as an opportunity.
That's
so.
good. So I think the short story is everybody will benefit from this, right? In helping
for sure.
our students become more engaged. It makes for a very healthy community, a safe summer, all the nice things that we want in Evanston, and happier kids. So that's really exciting. The other thing, and Chris, I always have questions, but college sports has changed big time, right? And how our kids are being recruited, as early as middle school and so forth and so on, and NIL and all that and everything is just, how are we across all the sports, not just the popular sports, but helping our students prepare for that. The flip side of that is that not every college student athlete will make it through their entire college year playing a sport. So how are we preparing them for life after that experience too? Which, you know, which I just see as a special group, because for so long, that's all they've been doing, especially if they make it to college. They've been playing sports since they were young, and then they go for 2 semesters and they're lost trying to figure out what their thing is.
Yeah, that's a really important issue, I think, for a lot of kids whose identities are completely wrapped up in being a student athlete. And they probably view it more as being an athlete student, right? And so they get to college, and let's face it, college sports is not high school sports. It's not as fun. It's a job, especially the higher levels you go up.
Yeah.
And especially you introduce NIL money now to kids, and it's a job. And if they get injured or they lose their passion for that sport and they get disconnected, they don't know who they are anymore. And so, I mean, one of the reasons why we started that college-bound student-athlete breakfast was just to at least start the conversation with them that this is going to be really hard and it's going to challenge you in ways you haven't thought about before. It's not about just getting the free swag and wearing the logo all the time. Like, it's going to be really difficult. And when it is, here's some of the people that you can talk to. And we just try to really emphasize as much as we can there. Reach back out to your high school coach. Reach back out to Joyce Anderson, who is a godsend as our college-bound student-athlete advisor. I mean, that's one thing that we have that most schools do not, is we have a dedicated person that specifically helps kids understand the college recruiting process. And now with the portal in place, I mean, she's probably just as busy with those kids that are switching from one school to the next, and we don't lose touch with them. We want to make sure that we stay connected with them as much as possible. But one of the Wild Kids Will workshops that we're introducing is basically called the Journey Ahead, and it's specifically designed to talk to just our seniors in fourth quarter about what are the obstacles you're going to face. Whether you're playing your sport in college or you're just going to college, life gets very different after you leave ETHS. So that's one of those are all different things we're trying to do. But there's still more to be done. And we'll keep identifying those things.
That we bring in those students who have not made it all the way through, so that they get the real story. And I'm only highlighting this because I really see it impacting our communities of color more so when they're trying to figure out, now what do I do when I come back to Evanston?
Yeah.
And so if there's a way to bring in an authentic perspective of what it means to be a college athlete after Evanston, when they have never been out of Evanston their entire life, I think that would be helpful as we start thinking towards the future.
Yeah,
That's it, I'm
absolutely.
done.
Thank you.
Yeah, those are excellent suggestions, yeah.
Absolutely. I just wanted to say to you all publicly, in front of this board, that the work that you've done has been tremendous. It's been tremendous. The gains that we've seen have been outstanding. You all took the task that was outlined here these last couple of years, and you knocked it out of the park. The disparities that we have seen in this report have been dramatically reduced, and that speaks to not just your methodology, but how you think about your work. And it's been very student-driven, and it should be honored and celebrated, and congratulations for doing that. So the job well done.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, well, thank you so much. Thank you for coming, and thank you for working together. That your collaboration is very apparent, so thank you. Yes, it is. All right. Okay, next, we are at our textbook adoption, deletion, and proposals.
Let's do it from here. All right,
Yeah.
textbook adoption and deletion, I'll do it from here.
All right.
There are 16 new textbooks up. 5 of them are dual credit textbooks. We have dual credit textbooks for Introduction to Life Science, Zoology, 2 for Certified Nursing Assistant Training, and 1 for Medical Terminology. It's important to note that with dual credit classes, we must use the same textbook that Oakton uses for the course. We have no say. We could try to make cases for the adoption and say like, oh, well, this is the best book ever, but to be honest, it's what we get. So I just want to be clear about that. But it's also, though, we don't stop there. It's important to note that adopting a new textbook is paired with a summer project. So that course teams have time in the summer to prep and the adoption and integration of that textbook into the curriculum. And I say integration because the textbook, while an essential resource to any course, is not a substitute for curriculum or instruction. So I just wanted to make that clear. The textbook adoption this year comes in at $108,000. And if we just go back, I ran some numbers just to contextualize that. In 2022-23 for that adoption, it was $138,000, and last year it was $116,000. So the price is going down. I think that's a function of not having a big ticket item, and by a big ticket item, I mean we're not buying one humanities history textbook for 900 kids. And that's important to note, so that's a large part of that too. With that said, are there questions about any of the books in the adoption?
Well, not about the books. I'm not going to go that
Sure.
in depth. Although apparently there is a school board member out there in this world who was so upset about curriculum that she decided to read every book that the district was proposing. Don't worry, I'm not.
Yeah, we're all like cutting our eyes at you.
Yeah, no, yeah, that was the thing.
Wow,
I
okay.
read something about that. Anyway. So my question just relates to, I like, you have this format, the adoption questions. So I just, I skimmed through there, and I think these questions, there are 3 questions. How will this help increase student engagement, particularly among students of color? Good question. How will this textbook meet the needs of our students, particularly our students of color, better than what we were using? Sounds almost like the first question, but also a good point. And the third question, I'm not clear what's happening here. It says, does this foster dialogue among our students, ... or more compliance?
Yeah,
Are we, what?
that is the old, glad you asked.
What?
That question really is about, is the textbook the kind of resource that will scaffold meaningful discussion versus do the 5 questions in the back of each chapter? That's really what that's intended to do.
A compliant student who doesn't ask critical questions.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
That's kind of what I was guessing, but it was a little hard to
I'm going to revise
discern.
that question based on that feedback.
Thank you. Also, I will also say, though, that in some of the responses, I thought blew off these questions a little bit, just a little bit. And I don't want to, really point the finger at anything in particular, but to the question of how will this textbook meet the needs of students, particularly students of color, I get, one of the answers is, this is a new course that aligns with Oakton. Providing students with the same resource as expected at the college level provides an accurate level of content depth. Well, that has absolutely nothing to say about our students of color.
Yeah.
So I'm just, I like that we're doing this, but if we're just doing this as kind of a rote exercise, and then people are responding and not actually thinking about how these get used, it just seems like a waste of
Yeah, I think the challenge to that.
time and space.
The challenge to that comes in with that's an Oakton
Okay.
book.
So that wasn't a good
So
example.
some of them, but there are other examples of that, and there
There
are
are
some.
others, I just, yeah.
The animal diversity one is a really great example of how to actually answer the question.
Yeah,
And the reason that one is good is because the person who actually crafted the course worked with Oakton on the course, was in on the fundamental creation of the course, so could bring that to bear with that. But yeah, that's the kind of
so
question
it
we're
suggests to
looking
me
for.
that they understand what the course is about and how the textbook relates to it. And if you can't answer that question, it would suggest to me that maybe you don't know maybe you haven't read the textbook, or you don't know how it's connected to the course, and you ought to be able to do better. So I'm just, I don't know, going forward, could we take it a little more seriously, how this gets done?
We can.
I don't,
What I would suggest, though, is that for any dual credit book, I'm just gonna put
yes.
required alignment text and save the discussion space.
Completely fair.
Yeah.
Well,
Don't
Can I
need to
say
make up stuff,
Well, that
which
makes
is
sense.
not
That makes sense to
Good
do it
point.
that
true,
way.
yes.
So I'm on Curriculum Forum, and we talked about this actually during the meeting. Because those, we don't have a choice. They're Oakton books, not our books. And you're right, there were some.
Yeah, that's why Pete said, I
Yeah,
think the
we
better
talked about
result
that,
is
but,
just.
well, what I was gonna say is, I think that there has to be, so, okay, yes, you're required to use this book, but let's make sure we have intentional conversations about, maybe it's not the perfect book, but what do we do to support, to, you know, to bring in other resources to meet the questions that are important to us, including the equity question. So I think that was important. Yeah, I agree with you, Gretchen, some of them were more, they didn't really know how to answer, and it was largely, I think, the Oakton books. But I think that they need to, then, okay, that begs the question, so then what? Don't just settle, we have to do better, even if that's the textbook you're required to use, so.
Can I add something too? And before I came here, I didn't, you know, you made the point about like the Oakton books have to be the Oakton books. And I didn't realize that, but a good example of, well, that's the case, but there were still good answers is for the college algebra honors class. I mean, I really liked what they said about, okay, this has changed to textbook, but this is why it will be beneficial for the students rather than the online platform. And that was really good to see.
Thank you. Yep. And we can always supplement those textbooks with additional materials. That's part of what the summer curriculum project does. And, you know, some of the labs for some of the courses can get quite expensive. With the mindset of being a real college experience, hands-on and that kind of thing. So, yep.
Sure.
Yep, good point.
All right. Other questions, board? Thank you. Okay, the next item is review of updated board agreements and the IASB Code of Conduct. And I know that these are items that we looked at our board retreat several weeks ago. I just, yeah, I wondered if there was any questions. Oh, yeah, here they are, yeah. Any questions about this? I was trying to see if we're gonna approve these tonight. I think we are. They are on, yes. Okay, any questions, any discussion? Just wanted them as a part of our, so that we would have an opportunity to look at these again. Okay. Okay, next item is FOIA. Dr. Bavis,
There are no FOIAs.
are you sure?
I am.
Is this a first?
This is a first since I've sat here. I'm worried about next month.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm gonna make note of that so that we can remember that it actually did happen. Okay, next item is board committee reports, and I know that we have a report in our packet. Leah from Cradle to Career, the Prepared for Adult Life, the PAL Action Team. Thank you for writing that report. It's really helpful. Any questions about that report, or are there any other committee reports that we need to discuss tonight?
I don't really have a question about that report. Thank you, Leah, for including it and for doing it. And there was a reference to landscape in that report that I initially sent Leah a note. I was confused, and I thought somehow Cradle to Career was becoming involved in landscape services across Evanston, given that there's discussion of the leaf blower ban at the council meeting tonight. But anyway, my more serious point just was, you know, what's going on with Cradle to Career? And this really has nothing to do with your report, so I'm not directing it to you, but does anybody have any further
I
information
think
on.
we'll have a more formal update on Cradle to Career, possibly at the next meeting.
Okay, I think it'd be good to know, because I did not attend this meeting because I'm just confused about what's happening in a global way, and as I brought up before, and I have a hard time devoting my time to it until there's some sort of sense of structure, purpose, goals, et cetera. So,
That's true, and we realize that, so we are
it's just been a
gathering
long
some
time.
information so that we can have a full,
Super,
informed conversation.
that'd be great.
Yeah. Okay, so we are at student board report. Nicole?
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Happy March and Women's History Month. As we're nearing the end of the third quarter, which is this Friday, students are moving through to our last quarter of the school year, and for seniors, it's our last quarter of our high school careers, so that's pretty cool. Also, students are looking forward to spring break, which is coming up in a couple of weeks, which is a well-deserved break. We were all looking forward to this break after winter break ended, so that's nice. When we come back from break, freshmen, sophomores, and juniors are going to be coming back to the PSAT and SAT, so there's a lot of buzz about that and also standardized testing. This week we have the Latinx Student Summit on Thursday, so students are also looking forward to that. I've heard a lot of buzz also, murmurs, and it's one of our student-led and planned summits that are a part of our social consciousness series. Later this month we have the MENA Summit, which is our Middle Eastern, North African, Asian Student Summit, and then this month I don't really have that much to say, but in the student union, we've been working hard on our proposals for admin addressing the topics discussed in the Student Voice Forum back in October. I know I talk about it a lot, but that's kind of our focus. One group is working on getting freshmen to be introduced to their grade level psychologists and social workers when they first come to ETHS, where the idea is getting students acclimated to the building the moment they walk in, making sure that they have all the resources that they need, they know what they need, and they can really succeed at ETHS. And then another committee has met with Ms. Lauren Hamilton, our equity analyst, about LGBTQ+ student concerns and belonging in classrooms. So we are very excited to see what we can get done before the end of the school year. And that's it.
Wonderful, thank you. Thank you very much.
Can I ask Nicole a question?
Sure.
I don't want to put you on the spot, and I know you don't speak for all students, but you said there was a buzz about standardized testing, and I wondered if I was curious what that buzz was about.
Well, basically, like, right now, after COVID, they had, like, that standardized, like, where it's, like, test optional. Students could apply test optional, and some schools, especially, like, the highly selective ones, are bringing that back. So a lot of students are thinking about that as they're going through this, like, studying process. I know for the juniors, it's a stressful time. And then freshmen and sophomores, I think they're just kind of getting used to, like, what this test could be like. And I don't know, in the last meeting, we talked a little bit about holistically reviewing students and some of the gaps we see in scores and possibly GPAs, or not possibly, in GPAs. So it's just something that's been on everyone's mind. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, Dr. Campbell.
Alrighty, just a couple of things. I like to highlight the ISBE Awards. As you know, every year the state of Illinois, Illinois State Board of Education honors exemplary teachers, administrators, student support personnel, and educational service personnel from school districts across the state through its Those Who Excel program. And I'm pleased to share with you that 3 of our staff members are among those recognized this year. Ooh. Our fine arts teacher, Amy Moore, was named Cook County Co-Regional Teacher of the Year for her work as filmmaking educator and so many other things, why Amy would be the co-regional teacher of the year. And she is one of the 15 finalists for the Illinois Teacher of the Year, which is a really big deal. So congratulations to Amy Moore. Our lead nurse, Michelle Wheeler, received an Award of Merit in the Student Support Personnel category. Special Education Paraprofessional Jason Jackson received an Award of Merit in the Educational Service Personnel category. And we congratulate Rob Beatty, who received an Award of Merit in the Community Volunteer category for his work in the ETHS Boosters Club. And so congratulations to Amy, Rob, Michelle, and and Jason for their recognition for those who excel. There was an announcement that went out last week about the working group that we've established here at ETHS to combat anti-Jewish, anti-Muslim, and anti-Arab racism. And we're continuing to be proactive and look for ways to respond to these particular sentiments. And with the working group is a continuation of these efforts to ensure that ETHS not only responds to incidents of allegations of discrimination, but takes steps, proactive steps to advance the inclusion of Arab, Palestinian, Israeli, Muslim, Jewish community members and devise strategies to combat Islamophobia and anti-Semitism at our school. For that working group, we've got dozens of applications from staff, students, and community members, and so we're very thankful for that. And my hope is that we will develop new action-oriented measures and solutions to address these issues through dialogue. And so thank you for all of those who've signed up to do that. Black History Month was a great success. We had a tremendous amount of activities that occurred last month in February, so thank you for all of the staff and students who participated. We will have our 7th annual LGBTQIA+ Summit, and more than 300 students participated in the summit, which included workshops, affinity spaces, and a keynote address by transgender actress and advocate Zoe Luna, who spoke about her journey. It was a great day. Dr. Kinsey was there. I was out of town and thinking about it the whole day. So really pleased that we could host our 7th annual summit for that. Honor roll ceremonies, our Black Caucus student recognition ceremony took place on February 28th. And I believe the number was somewhere 57% of the Black students here at ETHS made the honor roll, which was pretty amazing. And we also had our Middle Eastern, North African, and Asian Caucus held its annual community celebration honor roll ceremony March 4th. And lastly, because there's so many great things that are happening here, winter season highlights from bowling. I think I did that already in a previous, did I do that in a previous report? Maybe I didn't.
I don't remember.
Girls bowling competed in the IHSA state meet for the first time in school history and finished 22nd. Did I say that? I'll say that. All right. Our boys swimming and diving team qualified for an IHSA state meet in 7 individual events. So congrats to all of our students who have been doing that. Oh, and finally, Ella Ivaldi, who was part of our girls' gymnastics team, finished 12th and 14th place in the balance beam and in the all-around competition, respectively, for the IHSA meet. So happy and congratulations to all of our student athletes. And lastly, calendar items. There were a couple of important things that we'd like to highlight, and that is, of course, what Nicole just mentioned. Spring break, March 25th through the 29th. And finally, WOW for ETHS is the annual fundraiser benefiting ETHS Foundation that takes place this Friday. Be sure to head to the foundation's website for more information. And that concludes my report.
Excellent, thank you. Wonderful, wonderful report. All right. Okay, we are at our items for action. The first item is approval of updated board agreements and IASB Code of Conduct. Can I have a motion, please?
So, second.
Roll call, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
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 Yes. The next item is approval of resolution authorizing non-renewal of part-time teachers.
So move.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
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 Yes. Next item is approval of resolution authorizing notice of non-renewal and non-tenured teachers other than final year probationary teachers.
So moved.
So moved. Second? Yes?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes. Next item is approval of rehire of second, third, and fourth year teachers for the 24-25 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes?
Yes. Next item is approval of days of remembrance of victims of the Holocaust resolution, and that resolution is going to be read by Mira Ante.
Holocaust Remembrance Days, March 18th through March 22nd, 2024. Whereas from 1933 to 1945, 6 million Jewish people and 5 million clerics, communists, dissidents, Roma, gays, lesbians, and people who are disabled, Poles, Serbs, and Jehovah's Witnesses were murdered in the Holocaust as part of a systematic program of genocide. Whereas the students and staff of Evanston Township High School should always remember the atrocities committed by the Nazis so that such horrors are never repeated. Whereas the ETHS community should continually dedicate itself to the principles of equal justice for all people, remain eternally vigilant against tyrants and hate speech, and recognize that bigotry provides a breeding ground for tyranny to flourish. Therefore, we, the District 202 School Board, proclaim that in memory of the victims of the Holocaust, and in the hope that we will always strive to overcome prejudice and inhumanity through vigilance, education, and resistance, proclaim that March 18th through March 22nd, 2024, be hereby designated as Holocaust Remembrance Days at Evanston Township High School.
Thank you. Can I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes?
Yes.
Yes. The next item is the consent agenda, which includes approval of owner's representative, approval of asbestos abatement from 2024, approval of IHSA 2024-25 membership, approval of minutes from February 12th, 2024, regular meeting and closed session, approval of bills, treasurer's report from December 2023, and personnel report.
So moved.
Second.
Yes.
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 Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you all for those items, action items. Old and new business, do we have old or new business to present? I would hope that everybody would have a safe spring break, if spring ever gets here. Okay, any polling of the board? Anybody want to add anything, any comments? If not, can we have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. It's 9:18.